The biggest number one concern you're going to have in your divorce is going to be your kids, bar none. Like now that you don't have them on a daily basis, what's your relationship going to look like with them? Will they distance themselves in the future? Will they prefer to live with their mom? Your relationship with your kid is going to be top of mind and everything else is going to be a distant second. We both know that. So if you have kids and you're getting divorced, you got to watch this video entirely because today we're going to look at what a new study says about single fathers and their children. This is not going to be a typical divorce video, and it's going to introduce some original research done with hundreds of divorced dads. And spoiler alert, because for an overwhelming number of you, the outcome is going to be far greater and better than you ever thought. With all these changes you got going on around you, you have a lot of questions in just about everything. So you get a counselor and all you get is, it depends. Depends on what? The little data out there is incredibly difficult to find. Go ahead, Google, how will my relationship with my kids change after my divorce? You're going to get a lot of non-answers with suggestions to questions you didn't even bother asking. They're going to tell you to remain consistent, not to fall for traps or to keep an open communication. That wasn't even your question, and the answers are archaic and soulless, and I'd question if AI came up with them, but then again, these are so last century that it was impossible for them to come up with. How is it even possible when you have millions of dads going through a divorce every year and our biggest concern being the kids, yet there's really nothing out there? No hard data. So I did my own research. The Quality of Life Survey about life after divorce is a comprehensive 4-year study of over 700 divorced men. The purpose of the QoL SALAD study was to determine if you can speed up a broken heart and what factors you need to speed it up. If you want to see that data, make a comment and I'll send you a link in the comment section. Within that study, I did a secondary analysis on how the divorced father-child relationship is affected, and these results and conclusions they're hard to ignore. In a nutshell, 58% of single dads said that the relationship with their kids either improved or significantly improved 1 year after the split. 58% is a strong number, but stick around because a sub-analysis of this study, it says a lot more. So mark my words, in 2 years' time, your relationship with your kids is going to be so freaking awesome, so strong that if you had to choose between having them, even at 35% custody with divided houses versus 100% of the time in one house like it used to be when you were married, as terrible as it sounds, you wouldn't want to return to the old ways because too many good things have happened. Just wouldn't do it. Before we continue, please hear me out for this unusually important message. This video, it's unique because it introduces an original study about divorcing men. The fact is that there's not much data out there on us and we need more information. In single dads, the common theme is to try and father as though you're still married. That's completely unrealistic and it misses some really important and strong opportunities that you can have now with your kids. You're single. You don't have to pretend that you're married and avoid topics that you normally wouldn't touch when you were. Now that you're divorced, as you'll see later, you can and you should parent differently. Throughout this video, I'm going to make some strong, even audacious claims. I'm going to start with 2 contrasting outcomes of 2 dads. Then we get into what the research says. And last, very briefly, we're going to give examples of what I tell my clients and why it makes sense. Now, these are going to be very brief because I'll be creating a video specifically on this in the future. But every claim I make is backed by a 4-year study of original research from the Quality of Life SALAD Study, otherwise known as the QoL SALAD Study. This study was privately funded by me and it's a grassroots release. Fact is, I tried to reach out to other publishers, 25 of them to be exact, and it was declined. Not because the data wasn't robust, but because as Psychology Today and others put it, they don't find a need for this topic at this time. Thing is that as you saw, you do a Google search and you get nothing concrete. Everything you see is written by some very large corporations and many of them are attorney websites about parenting. But there is something you can do and it's really not that difficult. So here's my ask. You know how content creators say to like and comment on their videos? That helps, but what helps the most in the algorithm is to watch the video entirely and creating a strong, meaningful comment. Sounds simple enough? Now let's get back to the show. So I'm going to begin with 2 contrasting stories. The first one sucks, the second one's where I hope you end up. Years before I became a divorce coach, a buddy of mine, who I'll refer to as Bro, he reached out to me out of the blue. We lost contact and it was really good to hear from my old friend. As we catch up, I naturally ask him, "Hey bro, how's the family going?" Without any kind of hesitation I hear, "Rene, bro, Katie left me." What? Yeah man, I don't even know what happened. She just said she wanted a divorce and she wasn't in love with me anymore. Fuck, bro, I'm so sorry. Dude, she even got a restraining order after me. What? Now you have to understand that bro, he's one of the most by-the-book guys that I know. Strong Christian values, borderline boring. I know him, known him for decades. He never raised his hand on her nor the kids. I know him. Professional, good provider, outstanding father, great, and I mean great husband. As for Katie, well, was never really a fan. And I always thought she was a bitch, but She was his family, and you don't diss family, you know. So I kept things to myself. Restraining order, bro? What the fuck? What'd you do? Nothing, Rene. Fuck, man. How about the kids? How they doing? Dude, they're taking her side. What? Why? I don't know. So think about it. She wants a divorce. She gets a restraining order. Kids are reaching out to mom more than dad, but she's the one doing the leaving. Am I missing something here? Because the behavior of his ex and kids, it doesn't fit the good guy pattern. If it was anyone else, I suspect something, but I knew him. There was no chance, no fucking chance that he fucked around, and no chance that he'd ever raise his hand on her. But that was 10 years ago, and the idea of becoming a divorce coach was non-existent. I didn't even know we existed. So I did what most guys do. I heard him out. His pain, his anguish, and when I tried to change the subject to something more uplifting, well, you know the drill, he'd somehow managed to bring it back to her. My friend was suffering, and every attempt that I made to help him only served to remind me that he was in deep pain. It was depressing. It sucked. There was one thing that always stayed with me. Why did his kids pull away? He was a great father. Was it parental alienation? Did he badmouth their mom? I don't know, but if they were going to take sides, you'd think that they'd be taking his side, right? 2 years later, my then wife, she was dumping my ass, and my kids, they came from a prior marriage, so I knew that once she left, chances are going to be really high that I'd never see her after the divorce. When she started pulling away after all the bullshit that I put up with, it killed me. I boo-hooed all over the place, even to strangers. Don't you hate that? As Ghana was leaving me, I suffered. I suffered like a bitch, and I genuinely thought that I'd never recover. And I felt so close to death. Stopped working, stuck in bed, kissed her ass, even took her abuse as I allowed her to emasculate me in front of my kids. The day she left, June 29th, something strange happened. I don't know what serenity is or what it feels like, but I think that was it, because when she left, there was nothing left to anticipate, nothing left to fight for, nobody left to convince. And turns out that fear of the loss was worse than the loss itself. It was Darwinian, and it happened fast. The day I found out that my ex-wife was having a 2-year love affair with the same guy that took away her virginity in high school, I had reached a level of knowledge that I could never unlearn. And I had to make the very intentional and most difficult decision that I've ever made in my life. Things had just went too far, and now I knew that I could never take her back. It'd be like I was announcing to my entire world, my family, my kids, my friends, and myself, that I loved her more than I loved me, and that wasn't going to happen. To me, she was damaged goods. Why do you think I call her Gano, short for gonorrhea? Why was bro's outcome different from mine? Because he focused on his ex-wife while I focused on my new lifestyle. But I took it a step further, because rather than including myself in my kids' life, I had them join my new life, and as a consequence, we got incredibly close. The way I saw it, they already knew me as a husband. Why not let them see me as their responsible single dad? So we began routines, challenges, and it was a genuine learning experience. Today, that's what I do with my clients. Coach them into doing real-world activities with their kids to help them bond. And by the way, I've been wanting to create a how-to video showing single dads specific things that they can do to strengthen the relationship with their kids. But there's a problem. I can't decide how to launch it. Should I do it through monologue like this, or turn it into a webinar? Please let me know in the comment section which one you prefer. And before you say webinar, just know that if you say webinar, you have to commit to attend. Let me know. Just saying. And here's the results. I took full advantage of the 35% custody that I was given, and I found that I was a much better dad to them because I was present. I brought my 2 boys into my world. I took them to the gym at 5:30 in the morning before school. They went to concerts, and when appropriate, I even included them on the PG-13 part of my dating life. That's what you get for kissing other girls. I wanted them to see a relevant, happy dad who got his balls back after losing them, and we got close. So close that they asked their mom if they could stay with me 50% of the time. And during COVID, 100%. And frankly, 100% was way too much, and I don't recommend it to anyone. But the point is to let your kids know you and to have open communication far beyond just words, but action. And I put it to the test. After the condom talk, I had them buy their own box of condoms. My future ex, though, she did have a minor role in this. I was duped, and she needed to pay for it. I wanted my revenge. But the way I saw it, there's 2 ways to get revenge. I could do something to her and destroy her, but that's a hollow victory. Or, as the saying goes, the best revenge is served cold, and I served it by doing absolutely nothing to her while worrying about myself, and I won by default. I was going to turn myself into my own motherfucker, and my kids, they were going to join me for the ride. I wasn't just going to be a single guy. I was going to embody the single man, was my only obligation being to my work and my kids, and my ass was going to thrive. And as it happened during one of our last exchanges, I remember texting my ex that I overestimated her, that she was easier to forget than I thought, that it was over, and frankly, I meant it. And that's when the metaphorical handcuffs came off. The oh my God moment, because it hit me. Out of nowhere, I put two and two together. You know how you say handcuff in Spanish? Esposa. You know how you say wife in Spanish? Esposa. True story. Right now, you're probably doing what most guys do and what bro did, and that serves to make your kids highly uncomfortable. And don't fall for the trap where you begin talking about taking back control, putting yourself first, but continue to complain to others about how you were used. You need to pony up. You need to get your balls back. Try it. There's something fucking masculine in it. Time to control your life. Why not? Can't be any worse than the pain you're in. Take the plunge. It was going to be up to me to define masculinity. I was going to do it my way because I wanted it to become my identity. I was going to rebuild my body, dress better, meditate, practice self-awareness, get laid because it's always fun, learn new shit, but most important, learn to communicate through movement, wardrobe, writing, every which way possible. But what is masculinity anyways? Because that's the beauty of it. It's different things to different people. For instance, can a gay man be masculine? Gentlemen, hope you're enjoying the program, and if you like this approach, please make sure that this information, that it doesn't get lost. This video takes a different look at single dads, and it's one of the few videos that come with hard numbers. So please don't forget to comment and watch this through. But also schedule a consult by going to my site. The link is in the comment section. My consultations are highly affordable, and I even include the price in the site. And the website now makes it easier for you to reach out to me because you can text me directly and I'll respond personally. I don't like bots. I'll do it. The link is in the comment section underneath. But what is masculinity anyways? Because that's the beauty of it. It's different things to different people. For instance, can a gay man be masculine? What about a stay-at-home dad? Can they be masculine? I needed to define my own version of it, and I concluded that it was command and purpose. That's masculinity. Physically strong without becoming a meathead. Confident without becoming arrogant. Style without vanity. Well, a little bit of it. Sexually satisfied with kink, but no perversion. And enough self-awareness to know when I was full of shit, while being confident enough to admit that when I was full of shit. I wanted to become the guy that my boys would want to introduce their friends to. One that they would be proud of. And call it the law of attraction or whatever you want. But once that happens, things, they went from bad to absolute bliss. And nowhere was that more obvious than with my boys. They were 9 and 12 at the time, and we already had a good relationship. But after the divorce, the relationship went into hyperdrive. The way I see it, there's two types of dad. There's the married dad bond and the divorced dad bond. And while I'm not advocating for divorce, not at all, I'll argue that the divorced dad bond is by far much stronger because there's ownership there. And ownership, it's a mean motivator. And single dads, they just have more of it. Today, if I had to choose, I would never go back. No way, not even close. It was just me and my boys. And somewhere along the way, the relationship changed. And the biggest part of it was the change in trust. Like the time I got a 1 a.m. phone call because my 16-year-old was at a party and his driver got drunk. So I had to pick him up. There was no judgment there. Or the time that I talked them into buying condoms and I had to both go wait in line and pay for them. Or the time they asked to permanently live with me and forgo my 35% custody. After bro's divorce, his kids, they pulled away, but mine got closer. Two dads, both good fathers, going through the same basic shit, completely different outcomes. And that's where the QoL SALAD Study comes in, because the purpose of it was to figure out how long it takes for the average divorced man to recover after divorce. And then I look at different parts of their lifestyle and see what seemed to make the biggest difference to help them in their recovery. Across different divorced men in the study, the average quality of life was 61. That was the baseline. From there, I started separating the men according to different parts of their lifestyle to see what was happening. So for instance, when a guy's getting divorced, one of our main coping mechanisms is to start kicking our own ass by hitting the gym. So of course, I wanted to see how exercise affects one's quality of life. The data, it was clear. Men who worked out at least 5 times a week scored a quality of life of 68, but those that didn't exercise scored 55. 13-point difference or 1 standard deviation change with exercise alone. It's safe to say that pain through exercise, it helps your emotional pain. Now let's look at the kids, your kids. How will your relationship with your kids affect your quality of life during the divorce? Remember that the average of all the men was 61 points, meaning that if you were in a room with, say, 1,000 guys, no matter where you were at in the process, they'd average out a score of 61. If your relationship with your kids got worse, your quality of life would decrease to 56. But if it improved, it would go up to 66. Modest difference. So the father-child relationship does improve your quality of life to a modest level. May not be the strongest predictor, but it does tell you that if you improve the relationship, it improves your life. But let's be real world here, because chances are that you don't try to get close to your kids so that you can have a better life. The opposite. Chances are that you try to get close to your kids so that they can have a better life and not the other way around. So I wanted to know more. I wanted to know how your relationship with your children are affected during the split, because let's face it, with all the drama, all the crap you got going on, the custody, the child support, the uncertainty, the chaos, there's a lot of stress in that relationship. So why don't we do this? Right now, in the comment section of this video, comment for other dads or yourself for that matter. First, how long you've been split for. Second, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best case, how you're coping. And 3, how your relationship with your kids is doing. Write it down, and for this to work out, you're gonna have to be incredibly honest with yourself and let others that know. Remember those 3. How long the split, how you're coping, and how your relationship is doing. Of all the guys looked at in the study, 18% said that the relationship with their kids got worse, 46% said it got somewhat or significantly better, but 37%, or just over a third, said that they didn't know. The reality is that you got so many unknowns that you can't say if it's gotten better or worse. There's nothing long-term, and one day it could be better because you have them, but then you fight with their mom and have a bad day with your kids. So the only key takeaway I can give here is that the first year is too soon to tell, or it's gonna be subject to change. So I looked at the fathers who were less than a year into the separation out of the study, and I did a subgroup analysis looking at the men who had been separated for at least a year or longer. You with me so far? The entire group, if you've been separated for less than a year, you were out of that part, and you were just looked upon if you were separated for a year or more. That's where we're at. 58. Remember that number. 58% of the guys said that the relationship with their kids improved, 21% said that it got worse, and 21% said that it stayed the same. But then I flipped the question around. Rather than ask how the relationship with your kids affected your quality of life, I wanted to know how your quality of life affects your relationship with the kids. And I didn't have to go very far to find that answer. And in fact, it was staring at me right in the face. Dads that were still trying to fix the relationship after 1 year were affected the most. In other words, if you're the one trying to get back with your ex after 1 year, you're hurting your kids and you're the one inadvertently pushing them away. It's not the mom trying to separate you, and it's not children alienation either. You're just making it weird for them. And remember how I said that 58% of dads improved their relationship with their kids? That was all the dads put together. If your quality of life, however, is low because you're struggling trying to get back with your ex, only 23% of you guys said that the relationship improved, with 56 saying that it got worse. Complete opposite numbers. But the 58 was me looking at the dads separated in the study. What if I isolated the dads that thrived? The guys that said that they're thriving now, 71% said it improved, with only 15% saying that it got worse. Think about the power in all this. You separate for over a year, 58% get better. You thrive after the split, 71% get better. But you struggle, 56% get worse. Completely different outcomes depending on the life that you're living after the marriage. So here's what it comes down to. This is the part where in the beginning of the video, I mentioned that I make a point of telling you what you have to do to have an incredibly strong relationship with your kids. If you get anything from this video, remember my next few sentences. That the number one predictor of whether the father's relationship with his child gets better or worse was not whether you left her. It wasn't who filed first, who got the house, who got more custody, who was the better parent, or even who was the fun parent. It was how you handled the divorce. I've been in situations where the children have to tell their dad, "Dad, get over her." And that's telling you that you're using your kids as a therapist. I've been in a situation where the dad feels betrayed because their children prefer being with their cheating mom, where she moves out with her new paramour, and the kids still prefer being with the mom because the dad wasn't handling it well. I've had dads try to use the mom's cheating against their ex, only to have it backfire because it's anticlimactic, and the kids, they don't know what to do with that information. The kids today, they don't want to see you hurting. You show grief or show negative energy, and you're going to make it uncomfortable for them, especially when they're young, and the kids, they don't want to see their superhero defeated. It ruins their idea of your role. In their young, impressionable mind, they need to feel safe and stable. Your children, they need to feel like the adult in the room has their shit together. So if you're out there telling other people that you're working on keeping your family together, trying to get her back, what you're really doing is you're pushing your children away. And here's what you're missing out at. Because in this part of your life as a single dad, your job, it's actually pretty cool because people are big on telling you to get involved with your children's life, right? But I use a different approach. You have a completely different dynamic with your kids, and using a traditional parenting approach misses some opportunities for you to bond. So I changed that, and I showed dads how to have their children get involved in their lives instead. The other approach works well if you're married, but if you're single, you're severely limiting yourself. It just works better, and you're showing them to be responsible adults with true problems. That's my approach, and that's what I do as I coach single dads. Give them specific reasons on what they can do to include their kids in their adult life, and as I mentioned, that's going to be another video, and I'd really like your input on how to approach it. Through monologue like this one, or through webinar where you commit to attend. And let me know what you specifically do with your kids and how you approach fatherhood. Bottom line, that was the difference between Bro and me. Bro, he was doing his best to keep things together. He was doing everything he could to keep his family together, but only managed to make it strange for his kids. Me, we were in uncharted waters outside of traditional family establishment, and to succeed, we had to evolve our parenting to fit our new lifestyle and include them rather than be secretive about what we were doing. Being secretive creates boundaries, lowers communication, along with trust, and right now, you can't afford to break trust. So I moved forward and I took my kids with me.